Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at this 2023 Chevrolet Camaro 2LT convertible equipped with the RS package. Huge shout out to Randy Marion Chevrolet for providing this car for me today. Check out their website, all that info is down in the description. The Camaro that you see behind me is finished off in black and it has an MSRP just over $42,000. And to start off today's review, let's take a look at what powers this Camaro. This has the 3.6 liter V6 paired to the 10-speed automatic transmission. This pumps out 335 horsepower around 6,800 RPM and 284 pound-feet of torque around 5,300 RPM. That power sent to the rear wheels. This weighs in right around 3,600 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. And it has a fuel capacity of 19 gallons. You'll expect to see around 19 miles per gallon in the city and 28 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 110.7 inches. Its overall length is 188.3. It has a width of 74.7 and a height of 52.9 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this 2023 Chevrolet Camaro, there's really no changes to this year model compared to the 2022. We're going to start up front with the Chevy bow tie right in the middle. Has the two-tone design with black and the chrome surround. There's also plenty of cutouts in this grille, both in the upper and lower section, to provide a lot of cooling to this engine. The RS badge is over on that driver's side. And this is equipped with a set of LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals. And the turn signal and DRL actually makes its way into the grille in the upper section, but you can tell that the bodywork kind of hides the upper section of the headlight housing, and then we have this lower section here to give it that sunken look. Now just underneath that, there's also a functional air inlet to provide even more aerodynamics for this sports car. And then there's a bulge running down the hood with lines on both sides, just to give it more of that beefy design. There's some trim accents in the lower section too, so it matches very nicely. Now for the RS package, that basically gives you these 20-inch wheels finished off in a dark gray with a multi-spoke design, and this model also has the base brake kit for it. You'll see the Camaro badge just behind that front tire. The side mirrors are body colored, and then as you can tell right now with the top down, it definitely has a good design to it, and then with the top up, I think it still retains a nice design. So Chevy did a good job whether you want the top up or down for this convertible option. Now as we work our way to the rear, this has a small trunk mounted spoiler that definitely has a nice look to it. There's also the shark fin antenna just in front of that on the trunk lid. We have the same Chevy bow tie badge right in the middle, along with the backup camera. This has a set of LED taillights with the 3D design to them, and then this has the quad tip dual exhaust with the dual modes, which will start up here in just a little bit. So with the exterior wrapped up for this 2023 Chevrolet Camaro, let's move on to the cargo space. So I can use this button on the key fob to release it. There's also a button located up underneath, which makes it very practical. Now, with the top down, as you can tell, this is the divider right now. So this is the amount of space that you get if you want to have the top down and still be able to use the trunk. So my camera bag fits in here very nicely. And then with the top up, there is a lot more space where you can make it a little bit more practical, but it's nice to have this amount of room when you have the top down. And then underneath the trunk lid, there's no grab handle, but it's very lightweight, so it's easy to close. And as you can tell, I have the top back up for this convertible because you can do two things with the key fob. You can remote start this and bring that V6 to life, but then you can also shut it off and use this button on the right side to lower the top. So if it's a hot day, you can quickly do that without even getting into your Camaro, which is pretty cool to see. And as we move on to the interior now, you can use this button to lock and unlock this. And as we move on to the door panel, it has a really nice design to it. There's black leather and stitching on the armrest. Really cool trim piece surrounding all of the window controls along with the side mirror adjustments. Now this is a two-door vehicle, but it has 4 windows. So you have 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. You can quickly get to the fronts or the rears and use those same controls. So that's pretty cool integration to see. You can even release the trunk. There's 1 speaker and then a little bit of storage space on the back section of the door. Camaro is also spelled out on the door sill. And now we can move on to these back seats. So like I said, this is a 4-seater, so I can use that button to move the backrest. And then these are automatic seats, so I can further move this forwards to get a little bit more space for my feet. And at 5'10", I can make my way into the back seats. Now you're not buying this Camaro for a full 4-seater vehicle, but if I had to be back here, I do have some room. There's a little bit of storage right in the middle. As you can tell, with the passenger seat all the way back, there's no legroom. So you do have to make some adjustments. And for the convertible, my head is just up against against the roof line here, so I do have to kind of slouch down a little bit, but if I needed to ride around in the back for around town purposes, I could definitely do that, maybe on a longer cruise, just depending on where you're going and the space that you need. So it is doable. You can have 2 adults in the back if you need to. And we'll get a look at visibility. A little bit of a bulky pillar there with it up, but of course when you put it down, there are no really blind spots. And we have 1 speaker, a little bit of an armrest over on that one side. And then moving our way to these leather seats for up front, they have a nice 2-tone design to them with the inserts running down them. They're also heated and ventilated, which is really nice to see. Camaro is also down on the all-weather floor mats there. And then it's very easy to enter these front seats. And we can move on to this black leather steering wheel now with more of that gray stitching running along the inside. There's also trim accents on both sides. Over on this right side, there's Bluetooth and voice commands along with volume. And then all of these will go through the center gauge cluster. On the left side is cruise control along with favorites that you can use. But let's fire this Camaro back up. With my foot on the brake, that button is over on this right side and we can bring this back to life. And looking at the gauge cluster, on the left side is the tach, on the right side is the miles per hour, and then there's fixed information like fuel gauge along with engine temperature on the top with the small LCD screen just underneath that. So using those controls, we can look at the speedometer. You can also pull up trip information to monitor that. There's the fuel information, oil life, there's the TPMS as well, and then some other vitals to look at, average speed, you have a timer, battery voltage, just some vitals that you can keep an eye on, which is nice to see. And if we go back, we can go into options as well. You can look at units and set all of this just as you'd like to. So not a whole lot of information, but it's nice to have that right in the middle. And this also has steering wheel mounted paddle shifters on both sides. Now over on the left side of the steering wheel, you'll see 1 air vent. We have all the headlight adjustments on this turn signal stock. There's a really cool design for the dash just above it with these trim accents on either side. Almost matches the hood in a sense, which is nice to see. And then right in the middle, there's a touchscreen system that has a little bit more info to go through. So with all these icons, you can look at settings, the climates. This has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto along with phone and music. If I swipe over to the home screen now, you'll see music on one side along with phone when you do have that paired. And then there's even shortcuts in the lower section so you can quickly get to your music, get to your phone when you have that paired. You can even look at some more information within that, and then all the climate adjustments. So this does have a dual zone climate system. Temperatures on each side, fan speeds up in the middle, and then all the other controls are nicely laid out. And then below that, there's a physical button for the home dial, so you can use that if you need to. There's power and volume for the radio, tuning, as well as a Bluetooth control. And then underneath that, there's a really nice row of toggles here. Starting on the driver's side, this is the ventilated seat with the heated seat right next to it. There's the temperature for the driver's side. You can actually control that by spinning this fan, so you'll see that adjust as needed. And then all of the physical buttons for the climates. So if you're not in that screen in the upper section, you have fan speed, power, syncing them. All of those are nicely laid out. And then obviously you have the temperature for your passenger too, which is pretty cool to see. Now with the 10-speed automatic, we'll put it into reverse here. You'll see the backup camera up here. You can also turn off the guidelines if you'd like to, but it gives you some great graphics for the sports car. If I go into drive and pop it over into the manual setting, that allows you to use those paddles, or you can shift using the shifter itself. Now behind that, there's traction control along with the different modes. So you'll see there is touring, sport, snow, and ice. So just depending on how you're driving this, you have those. The electronic parking brake is just behind that along with a 12 volt. There are 2 cup holders, and then we have the center armrest finished off in leather. Has a little bit of storage on the back section along with some auxiliaries, so you can charge some electronics down there if you needed to. And then over on the passenger side, there's the glove box, so you have an ample amount of space for all of that information. We'll take one last look at this interior. Very nice design for these seats. And then right in the middle, there are some call buttons. And on this left side here, this is how you can start to put the top down. So by pushing on that, the windows will automatically go down. You'll see the entire back start its process. And from there, the entire roof will collapse into the back. So it's a very quick process. I'd say probably around 15-20 seconds or so. You can actually do this while moving as well. So as we get behind the wheel now for this 2023 Chevrolet Camaro. We have the V6 engine, which is pretty much in the middle. There's a 4-cylinder that you can get, and then obviously you can go with the V8 in the larger models. So we're right in the middle for this trim level as far as even being a 2LT. So we have some nice amenities, nice technology features, and of course we have the convertible. So if you want a convertible sports car, this is a perfect option because it gives you a lot. And I've been able to drive a lot of Camaros. You can get a 6-speed manual if you don't want the 10-speed automatic. But let's pop it into the manual setting there. We'll put it into sport mode. So now we can test out these paddles. And for the V6, we can get a good acceleration out of this car. I will say it sounds pretty good. It's not crazy loud, but for a V6, I think it's pretty good for a stock exhaust as well. We'll go down to 3rd gear. It's got a nice tone to it for sure. But aside from that, being a convertible, it's actually very nice to drive. I'm not in a whole lot of convertibles. I personally wouldn't buy a convertible, but I do like how insulated they've become. It's pretty much like you're driving in a coupe version. So it's not just some rag top, it actually has a good build quality to it. It seems very, very comfortable to drive. There's really no wind noise, road noise, anything like that. And so now we're going to switch to putting the top down. Now you can do this while moving, which is pretty cool. I think you have to be under 20 miles an hour, somewhere around there. So it makes it a little bit more practical because you don't have to come to a complete stop. Some vehicles you do have to even put it into park, but it will tell you when it is complete. So let's give it an acceleration, see if we can hear that exhaust. Woo! Got some pops with some of the buildings surrounding us here, so it has a good tone to it. But with the top down now, we're going about 40 miles an hour. Seems pretty composed. You're gonna see my hair fluttering in the wind just a little bit, obviously above the windshield here. But down in the cabin, it's very composed feeling. Now, I'm not going out on the highway where it would be a little bit more windy, but if you want to, you can also put up both front windows and then you can put up both of the back windows just to make it a little bit more, not as windy with like a crossed wind going through the car. So on a beautiful day like today, you can put the top down and experience the convertible for this Camaro. And as we switch over to the POV angle, we'll keep the top down for just a little bit, get another acceleration, and as you can tell, no visibility issues. And hopefully with the camera angle here, you can tell how composed it is with the side windows up, just doing that for audio purposes. Feels very composed, going again around 40 miles an hour or so. So it's a nice experience to be able to have the top down and just enjoy your ride. And as we come up to the cul-de-sac, hey, right around 30 miles an hour, we were able to start this process. And like I mentioned, probably about 15-20 seconds. In the time that we were able to do the entire cul-de-sac turn, we are ready to go. So we will put the back windows up, we'll put the front windows up. I can't get over how good it sounds for a V6. Pretty impressive to see for this Camaro. Now, like I mentioned earlier, for the 2023 year model, really no changes compared to the 21 even and the 2022. Hopefully a 2024 will be different and kind of compete with the 24 Mustang that was just released. But for this 2023, we have a nice interior as you would expect and a good overall sports car, especially if you want a convertible. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this walk around review and test drive behind the wheel of this 2023 Chevrolet Camaro 2LT with the RS package. Once again, huge shout out to Randy Marion Chevrolet for providing the sports car for me today. Check out their website, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.